into the business of verses, a new feature you will be seeing each and every week right here on this channel, coming up every Friday down the road, including this Friday. We will have our second verses of this iteration of the Wrestling Rants 2.0 on this new channel, and be looking forward to verses every single week. Now, tentatively on Fridays every week, you are going to be seeing Impact versus Ring of Honor, the 2-hour head-to-head on Thursdays, so to speak. Actually, one of the hours is actually head-to-head, but we're going to treat it like both hours are head-to-head each and every week. So on Fridays, be looking for versus Impact versus Ring of Honor right here, Wrestling Rants, including we're going to be talking about it in a double shot here versus the last 2 weeks of Impact versus Ring of Honor. We're going to be looking at it head-to-head, segment to segment, and we're going to be talking about which company won the last 2 weeks of the head-to-head battle on Thursday nights. What's up ahead this week as well? We're going to try to get in the swing of it Monday through Friday, getting a rant every day here at Wrestling Rants, and then moving into the weekend where you'll be looking for other content as well on the weekends, including laying the rant down every Saturday. Didn't get to it this weekend. Just was actually feeling a little under the weather this weekend. Didn't get everywhere I was hoping for with my rants, but look for coming up on Saturday, laying the round down. We're going to be looking at everything in the world of wrestling. And in fact, tomorrow, a special laying the rant down on a Monday, since there really wasn't any big pay-per-views or special events this weekend. Did a little shifting of the schedule till we get back in a groove, so to speak, with things here. So laying the rant down. We're going to be looking at the insider news of the week. That'll be coming tomorrow on Monday as well as on Saturday in its normal spot. Tuesday is top 10 takes, where we're going to be looking at coming off of Raw, what's all leading to WrestleMania, what are the big takes from Monday Night Raw from Monday night. Come back here on Tuesday for top 10 takes. Wednesday is a new exciting feature we're going to be debuting on this Wednesday. That is the midweek must-see matches of the week. And come on back for that this Wednesday. We're going to be looking back at all of the must-see matches. They're the first part of March, from March 1st up all the way to the 15th of March, which is inevitably on March 15th is when we're going to be debuting this new weekly feature on Wednesdays. That is, once again, midweek must-see matches each and every Thursday. Coming down the road on this Thursday, so that is Wednesdays, midweek must-see matchups. Then Thursdays we get into a little retrospective of sorts, looking back at events in the past, a little throwback Thursday, if you will. And this month is WrestleMania month, so it's going to be all about looking back at all different WrestleManias. In particularly this month, every Thursday we're going to look back at different WrestleManias from Southern California. We're going to start out with the first two from SoCal. WrestleMania 2, where a portion of it was in Los Angeles, and then WrestleMania 7, that big one with Hulk Hogan, Sergeant Slaughter, Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man Randy Savage, from back in the day in 1991. Both of those events, I believe, were held at the same arena, the Los Angeles Sports Arena. So we're going to take a look back at those this coming Thursday as part of a lead-in to WrestleMania in Los Angeles at the beginning of the month. April 1st and 2nd, I believe, are the dates to be exact. I will not be making it to WrestleMania as it looks like right now. I guess anything could happen, anything could change on a moment's notice, but not really planning to be in the LA area for WrestleMania, which is a shame because I have a lot of history back in Southern California with a lot of different shows that I've been to, including WrestleMania 21, which I will be doing a special rant on that later in the month, on my experiences from that entire weekend, as a matter of fact. And it was the second WrestleMania I had personally been to at that point. WrestleMania 19 was my first WrestleMania experience, and what an experience that was. So that kind of breaks things down for later in the week here. Tomorrow, like I said, a special laying the rant down, look at all the insider news. We're going to talk about this whole situation with WWE potentially becoming actual sports betting legitimately. That is a big shock. We're going to also talk about a new AEW show on the horizon. We might have some more information on that by tomorrow. There's been some stuff coming out of that on this weekend. Also, look at the WWE pay-per-view schedule from May. There's some events that they announced for Saudi Arabia, as well as Puerto Rico for Backlash. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more, as well as a little bit looking ahead on potentially another big event, big stadium event that we may be looking for later from WWE in the year. So that will be all tomorrow. Like I said, Tuesday, top 10 takes. Looking back at Monday Night Raw from tomorrow night. Wednesday will be that midweek must-see matches special we've been talking about, with looking back on everything so far in the month of March that is really must-see as far as matches go. Thursday, looking back to start our WrestleMania in Southern California series with WrestleMania 2 and WrestleMania 7. Friday comes back around and we are back to Versus, the same round we're going to be talking about right now on Friday. Saturday will be another laying the rant down. We're going to probably have a lot of WrestleMania news on that rant on Saturday. And then on Sunday, normally we will be having Wrestling Roundup, where I look back at all the week shows in the world of wrestling. This includes the smaller groups like MLW, like the NWA, some of those other groups that I can get a hold of their weekly content, either online or through my television. So that will be coming up on Sunday. So from this point on, the idea is a rant every single day of the week. Let's see how we can get this rock and rolling here at Wrestling Rants. All right, let's get into Versus. This is a very special Versus on a Sunday night. Like I said, normally scheduled for every Friday. But we're going to take a look back at not only this past Thursday's Impact as well as Ring of Honor, but we're going to roll back to the 2nd of March to the first Impact from Las Vegas, where we had tons of content. I was at these shows. I was actually ringside for the first couple episodes of Impact. I was right down by the stage. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the first 2 weeks of Ring of Honor as well. So let's get into it. Talking about first the 2nd of March Impact versus Ring of Honor. So how we do this at Versus is we are going to talk quarterly hours. And we're going to compare each quarterly hour on content from each show. And then we will determine which one got the nod for the quarter hour by the end of the rant or review on that particular week. We will tally up how many from each quarter hour each company got. It's a total of 8 quarter hours in a 2-hour episode. And that's kind of where we're at with things. So let's get into the March 3rd content for both Impact, the first episode from the big run in Las Vegas, No Surrender weekend, against the inaugural Ring of Honor episode from this new iteration of Ring of Honor. They finally got their weekly content going. It's on Honor Club every week. You can probably look around the interwebs and find it if you don't have Honor Club. Just saying. So let's get into it. To kick off Impact, we had a great promo by the Motor City Machine Guns and the Bullet Club, setting up that main event on that episode. Now keep in mind, we are back on the 2nd of March on this that I'm talking about right here. This is a few weeks ago, approximately 10 days ago from now, that this occurred. Over on the Ring of Honor show, to kick off the inaugural episode, we had Mark Briscoe against Slim J. Have to be honest, was not really thrilled with that being the opening match on the Ring of Honor TV. I thought they should have put a little bit of a better foot forward with that. Mark Briscoe is one thing, but to put Slim J in there of all people and against Briscoe, I don't know about that. Wasn't much of a match. Also in this quarter hour started up Kingdom against the Infantry, which was more or less glorified squash. There really wasn't much to say about it. So this is how we do it. Compare those two segments. The first one with Impact with the Bullet Club and Motor City Machine Guns in that fantastic promo. On the other side, we had the Briscoe match with Slim J. We also had the Kingdom borderline squash match with the Infantry. I went for this quarter hour to Impact with that Bullet Club promo. Chris Bay was on a roll with that promo for sure. Had to go all the way with that for the quarter hour. Second quarter hour of Impact, actually, the match on Impact kind of rolled into 2 quarter hours. This was Mike Bailey against Shane Hayes. Fantastic match. Absolutely excellent bout. This entire episode of Impact had really good in-ring, by the way, if you didn't notice, if you hadn't seen the show. Over on Ring of Honor, we're going to talk about 2 quarter hours here because basically Bailey and Hayes went into 2 quarter hours. The first quarter hour featured Zack Sabre Jr. against Blake Christian for the Ring of Honor, or excuse me, we had New Japan Pro Wrestling Television Championship. This was quite the match. I really enjoyed it. In fact, I'd probably go for that first quarter hour. Bailey and Hayes against Zack Sabre Jr. and Blake Christian. I would go Zack Sabre Jr. and Blake Christian. As the match on Impact continued on with Hayes and Bailey, we also got a Christopher Daniels against Rohit Raju match on Ring of Honor. Kind of interesting former Impact talents on both ends there. Daniels and Raju was okay. It didn't have a whole lot of meat to that bone, but Bailey and Hayes really picked up on that second half, so I'm going to give Bailey and Hayes that quarter hour victory on that one on there. So now we got Impact 2 quarter hours 1 and Ring of Honor 1 at this point. We're moving up into this 4th quarter hour, which is almost to kick off that 2nd hour. It's the end of the 1st hour. We're on Impact. We had Kenny King against Kevin Knight of New Japan. This was quite the match. Also on Ring of Honor, we had Tanosuke Takeshita against Josh Woods, which was another excellent match that I would go out of your way to see on the Ring of Honor show. I thought these guys worked really well. In fact, I went for the Takeshita against Josh Woods match on this one. So now we are tied 2-2 on each end with Ring of Honor and Impact. We go into this 2nd hour. Mickey James and Giselle promo that just didn't really do much for me, even being there live for this one. Not a whole lot. On the other side, we had the Embassy in a 6-man, as well as Ari Daivari and Grand Metalik, which ended up being a hell of a match, actually. So much that I would go Ring of Honor on this quarter hour to kick off that 2nd hour of content. Over on Ring of Honor, as we move on to the next quarter hour, we had PCO against Trey Miguel. Kind of match that really didn't go much of anywhere as far as the finish went. Eddie Edwards interfered for this one, and chaos ensued. PCO did a PCO assault on security at ringside. Over on Ring of Honor, we had the Renegade Sisters against Madison Ray and Sky Blue. Match was quite clunky. Just couldn't get into it, so I went on this quarter hour for Impact all the way. So at this point, we're kind of tied, but back and forth, head to head on these shows, leading into around the last half hour, which is where things really kicked off for Impact. This was all the main event. Motor City Machine Guns, Bullet Club, the Impact had titles. Last half hour of the show, this was all nothing but that tag title match. Over on Ring of Honor, we had the following stuff within about a 40-minute window. Wheeler Yuta and Timothy Thatcher did a promo setting up their match for this. It happened this past week. Willow Nightingale was in there against Lady Frost, as well as the main event, Claudio Castagnoli against AR Fox for the Ring of Honor World Championship. We saw Eddie Kingston after that match come out and make the challenge to Claudio. So that's set for the Supercard of Honor in Los Angeles, WrestleMania weekend on that Friday. Overall, I had to go all the way on Impact for that main event. So they got 2 quarter hour points on that. That puts Impact over the hump, winning this one 5 quarter hours to 3 quarter hours for the January 2nd episode. So Impact, pretty much with the best stuff that they taped at that Vegas taping those 3 nights, went head-to-head on that first week of Ring of Honor, and in my opinion, beat them. I was not impressed with that first episode of Ring of Honor, quite frankly, especially comparatively to the second week, which was just this past Thursday, which let's talk about that right now. The past Thursday's content from both of these episodes. Impact, their second week from Las Vegas against the second week of Ring of Honor from Orlando, Florida, which is ironically at the former home of Impact Wrestling, Universal Studios Stage Studios in Orlando. Very ironic that kind of comes full circle in a way, in some ways, here in World Wrestling. So let's talk about what first happened on Impact on March 9th here, this past Thursday. Kicked off with a Bully Ray promo where he was kind of building this thing with Tommy Dreamer. It's a busted open match at Sacrifice. Santino got out there. He made the match technically official. Bahinder Gajar came out, got in the face of Bully Ray, made that match happen going into that next quarter hour. But this is a really long-winded promo with a lot of talking to kick off Impact. That went against to open Ring of Honor, the television title match with Samoa Joe and Tony Deppen. Damn, this was an excellent match to kick off Ring of Honor, a lot better than it was for that first week of Ring of Honor. I thought this was a marked improvement for sure. Mark Briscoe also challenged Samoa Joe after the match, so we're going to see that bout at Super Card of Honor as well. Think about this second week. They really started setting up things for Super Card of Honor, so that card is really starting to take shape, and it's looking quite awesome on paper so far. First quarter hour then of this last Thursday's episode, I'm going to go with Ring of Honor on that first quarter hour, that Samoa Joe and Tony Deppen match. Second quarter hour, Bahinder Gajar against Bully Ray in a match that, quite frankly, I took a piss break on when I went to see it live, and watching it again didn't do much for me, even watching it the second time on TV. That went against the Dalton Castle and Boys Squash match on Ring of Honor, as well as SAP, which is the team of Angelico and the Serpentico, the masked wrestler, against Dralistico and who is the former Sin Cara of WWE, Mystico, the original Mystico, and Rouge. This was an excellent tag match. I thought this was way better than I thought it was going to be. The six-man squash really didn't do much, but this quarter hour was so much better than that Bahinder Gajar, Bully Ray match. It really didn't go anywhere on Impact. Going back to Impact, third quarter hour this past Thursday, Sami Callihan against Rhino. I have to talk about this for a second. This quarter hour should have featured actually Sami Callihan against Yuya Yamura, but they pulled that match, and apparently that might not be even airing at all on Impact, because that would have originally been in this spot if we were going by the way they taped chronologically at the tapings. The fact that they got it, they pulled it completely and replaced it with this match, which actually was taped on the Sunday tapings early on. That tells me that they made a change there, and they're not going to show that Yuya Yamura injury. Not make it into a storyline, nothing like that. They're just going to kind of like act like that didn't happen, I guess. So, Callihan and Rhino on this quarter hour, not much of a match, to be honest. Trish Adora and Billy Starks, as well as the finale of the Rouge and Dralistico match with the SAP, kind of filled up this quarter hour for Ring of Honor, and I went all the way with Ring of Honor on that. So now we got Ring of Honor 3 and a big old goose egg for Impact as we almost finish up this first hour. Also in the first hour, Jordan Grace and Alex Gracia on Impact against Jake Chris and a Man Scout against Ari Daivari and Slim J on Ring of Honor. Boy, I was not impressed with really either of these matches, to be frank, but if I had to pick one, I'd probably go with Impact and the Jordan Grace match with Alex Gracia. That's one for Impact. So going into the second hour, Impact 1, Ring of Honor 3. Next quarter hour was a bunch of fun on both shows. Impact had Kushida and Jonathan Gresham. Tremendous match. This was one of the highlights for sure of the Saturday taping from Vegas. Kushida won clean with a submission. Over on Ring of Honor, we had Wheeler Yuta and Timothy Thatcher in a really, really well-booked pure title match. So I'm going to go... both shows these were fantastic matches. This was really hard to pick one or the other on this one, but I'm going to go Wheeler Yuta, Timothy Thatcher from Ring of Honor on that quarter hour. So right now, Ring of Honor is pretty much walking away with this 4-1 quarter hour wise. Next quarter hour, we got Killer Kelly with a promo on Impact that led to Kylan King debuting for Impact, and The Coven with Taylor Wilde debuting on that segment. Over on Ring of Honor, we had yet another excellent match following the Wheeler Yuta Timothy Thatcher. This one was Aussie Open against Tracy Williams and Rhett Titus, former Ring of Honor Tag Champions. Damn, this was a fun match. Once again, I went Ring of Honor for this one. I'm just walking away with it this week, let me tell you. Over on Impact, going to the last half hour of this show, we had an angle in the desert with PCO and Eddie Edwards, where basically PCO challenged Eddie Edwards to fight in the desert. This is an ongoing storyline that they've been doing the last few times they've come to Vegas, actually. They get into it in the desert. Somebody runs over PCO, knocks him out. They take off. That person is probably going to be revealed to be Kenny King, because he's the guy who interferes and either next week or the week after on Impact in a segment with Eddie Edwards and PCO. I think it probably is going to be next week on Impact. We'll see what happens. But there's a little spoiler for you that Kenny King's aligning back with Eddie Edwards, that kind of a team no honor, the former Ring of Honor guys, kind of getting to get back together again, Kenny King and Eddie Edwards. So that was the angle on Impact. Over on Ring of Honor, we had pretty much a squash with Eddie Kingston and Ben Deho that led more to Kingston and Claudio getting into it in a promo battle on stage. I kind of liked the angle with PCO and Eddie Edwards. It was filmed cinematic style, so I will give Impact a nod on this one. Just barely, though, because the promo work with Eddie Kingston and Claudio was pretty awesome, I gotta say. Then we got to main event time, and this was a no contest for the main event comparisons. We had Mickie James and Giselle Shaw on Impact for the Knockouts Championship. And over on Ring of Honor, we had another women's match for another women's title, the Ring of Honor Women's Championship. Athena against Willow Nightingale, which blew my ass away. I thought this match was fantastic. The match of the show for Ring of Honor, quite frankly, I thought really excellent, really overperformed, and it's outsmoked Giselle and Mickie James all the way. Giving Ring of Honor the official win for this past Thursday's episode. The total of, count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 quarter-hour ratings to 2 quarter-hour ratings for Impact Wrestling. Pretty much a blow-away by Ring of Honor for that second week. We'll see what happens this week coming up on Thursday. Impact show does not come off very... I just remember how that Sunday taping was. And this might be a challenge for Impact this week to compete with what they got scheduled for Ring of Honor, which they haven't announced a whole lot yet officially, but by looking at the spoilers, there was some decent stuff that they taped ahead. So that should be probably showcased a majority of that on Ring of Honor this week. All right, everybody, that's Versus. Looking back at the past 2 weeks of Impact versus Ring of Honor. Like I said, be looking forward to this. Every single Friday, right here, Wrestling Rants, we're going to be taking a look, comparing these two shows head-to-head, talking about the highlights from each show, the highs, the lows, the ups and the downs, head-to-head, each and every Friday. So come on back here for some more of that this week, and come on back tomorrow. We're going to be doing a special Laying the Rant Down, talking about all of the stuff with sports betting with WWE, a new show on the horizon for AEW, possibly on that coveted old school 6:05 Eastern WTBS spot. Also, the third point on our Laying the Round Down tomorrow is going to be the upcoming pay-per-view schedule for WWE in the month of May and ahead, talking about a potential big show that they're scheduling for later in the year in another country. It really hasn't been reported too much on the interwebs. So we'll talk about that tomorrow, Laying the Rant Down, Monday afternoon into the evening. Come on back here and check it out, folks. See you all right back here for some more wrestling. Lance Billy.